If you've watched these reviews for long enough, then you found out that my favorite Kamen Rider series is Agito, and my favorite Kamen Rider period is Gills. But now you get to find out the answer to the opposing question: what is my favorite Sentai? Well, you're looking at its lead hero. This is SH Figuarts' BoukenRed. And being a Sentai design, luckily there's not a lot to talk about detail-wise. I mean, he's still got all the detail he needs, and he still looks quite cool. But he's not the overloaded detailing that a Kamen Rider's armor is usually accustomed to. Most of what we can talk about is in that head. Very nicely sculpted all the way around. Got all the little details in there. Very nice. And a translucent piece on the forehead representing the front end of his vehicle. I really like that, especially the little turn signals that are even put in there. A lot of detail where it counts. But then again, this is a Sentai suit, so it's mostly spandex. You can see some creases in it to replicate that look of fabric. Even though it's supposed to be skin tight, you can see the folds, so it doesn't look like he's just a painted flat bodysuit, which is actually really thoughtful. You can see the belt, very simple. On the back, we see a circle on his butt. But besides that, we see a folded up excellular, which is, actually removable, which we will get to once we talk about accessories. And oh, we will talk. I do really like the suit design. I mean, there's just enough going on to keep it from looking boring, and I really like Sentai suits that use the white instead of black. It's a lot more classical. I just really like how it makes the colors pop a little bit better than the black does. And I do kind of like that compass logo. Really dig it. So, it's very classic in design, but he still has some modern features, which is mostly in the helmet. And speaking of features, we move to the articulation, which is your standard Figuarts fare of the two ball joints in the neck, giving you full range of motion. Neck's a little bit long looking, but that might just be me used to high shoulder armor on Kamen Rider's Figuarts. Inner ball joint, which is actually a little loose on mine. I don't know if that's a universal problem or not. Universal shoulders, you get the bicep swivel, the double jointed elbows, a little bit restricted by the cuffs of his gloves, but not too bad, and the ball jointed and hinged wrists, giving you plenty of movement. Goofing off now. The torso and waist joints are kind of restricted in this one. You can get a lot of forward and back motion on the chest, but not a lot of rotation. And even though the belt is kind of soft and gives a little bit to give you some waist rotation, it's not a whole lot. So he's not going to be doing any extreme poses. The hips, they are the Figuarts standard of the extending ball joint, allowing for long kick poses. Lots of room in there. The double jointed knees work beautifully. You get the ankle tilt as well as the hinge and rotation, of course. And then you have the toes on the front. All the detail and articulation that you expect from a Figuart is there. And I actually quite enjoy seeing a Sentai figure pose with this, because he really does take to that design aesthetic really nicely. Though the nitpickers are going to point out that the elbow and knee joints don't have the white stripe continuing through them. That's just the fate of using firmer plastic that's a little bit harder to paint in those areas. It'd scratch off anyway with all the heavy friction the joints will take. But just when you might think, there's not too much to this guy, some limited waist articulation, just the standard fare for a Figuart, that's when we get into the accessories, and this is why you get this toy. For starters, we're going to talk about his weapon, the Survive Buster, if it actually focuses. Here, get out of the way, BoukenRed. You're screwing up the autofocus. Look at that. Tons of little details in there. I love that pipe that goes all the way from the back through the sides. The individual little painted lines right at the tip of it. The red going through, the gold, the silver. Ooh, it is just such a nicely painted accessory all the way around. There's a red peg sticking out, which you'll notice has this attached to it. What is it? It's a belt clip that will peg into the side of BoukenRed. It's very flexible plastic, So you can still have all of the rotation and movement in the legs without any type of hindrance from the accessory hanging on his hip. And the best part about this Survibuster? It's not his main one! 2 of them! Haha! This one doesn't have the peg, so it can't be used in the holster. This is the one that's supposed to be held. But they're identical. Which means you not only get a Survibuster for his hip, a Survibuster for his hand, you can dual wield. And anytime a ranger can dual wield, it's awesome. But if you're not a twin gun person, I have an answer for you. The Survibuster in sword mode. Oh, it just doesn't end, does it? Look, it's the same level of detail. All the same paintwork is there. Except now, you get a nice long blade sticking off the front. So, your dual wielding can be twin guns or sword and gun. Take your pick. Either way, it ain't accurate to the show. But it's freaking cool. So, I will allow it. Oh, by the way, remember that tiny little accessory that's hanging off the back of his belt? Removable, of course, because you get these. Well, this one first, this tiny, tiny little accessory, intricately painted. Even all the little number pad buttons are painted. So tiny, so intricate. You can see the Boukenger logo attempted to be molded in there. Not quite detailed, but what can you expect at that size? And you also get this one, the scanning mode. Man, there's so many tiny little accessories. Be sure you've got poly bags or some type of container for these, because these things will get lost so easily. But they do provide BoukenRed with a number of poses. You can pretty much pose him any way he could in the show, with any accessory he had in the show. Speaking of, he comes with the Bouken bow. And he just doesn't stop. You can see, if it focuses, this is a tiny accessory after all, it is painted all the way up the shaft, stop giggling, to the handle, all the way up with that gold paint, all the way up to the claw on top, intricately painted in all those little gold screws and rivet looking designs, and silver all over the claw itself, which can be opened and closed, so you can grip onto your enemies however you like. Now, the head doesn't come off, so you can't transform it into the javelin mode. That's because he comes with one in javelin mode. So you get the Bouken javelin as well. It's almost the exact same accessory, just with a blade sticking out the top. And again, 2 of them, which means show inaccurate dual wielding. I love show inaccurate dual wielding. Not to mention how many combinations you can make between his weapons at this point. It is getting a little ridiculous. So let's get a little bit more ridiculous, shall we? Aside from the closed fists that are his defaults, he comes with 9 extra hand accessories. Your typical splayed out and multiple holding hands for holding his accessories at different angles, in different ways. Some work in some weapons, some don't. Well, you get the idea. Either way, comes with a ton of things, so of course he comes with a ton of ways of holding on to them. And just for good measure, he comes with his signature finger snap hand, just in case you want to put him in his signature pose. And you know you do. And we're still not done. BoukenRed comes with so many accessories. He includes accessories that aren't his. Behold the Bouken Scooper from Akiba Ranger. Yep, if you bought 3 special Figuarts, you could get all the components to their main weapon in Akiba Ranger. And here is BoukenRed's contribution. You can see tons of paint all over this thing to get it looking just right. And what I really like, and you can tell at the top here, it's not silver. The logo at the top is silver, yes, but it's actually done up in a slightly blue shade of metallic paint, giving it a more metallic and actually more realistic look, like it's made of steel or something. The only other color to speak of are the stripes in the scooper, representing the Boukenger colors. And of course you have the Boukenger logo up here, and the handle hidden inside for when they combine with the other weapons. Now it does transform, of course, so it can form its component of the Buster, which I don't have. And speaking of things I don't have, you also get 4 holding hands for Akiba Blue to hold on to the Bouken Scooper. I don't have Akiba Blue either, so this is getting a little hard to demonstrate fully. Luckily, the weapon does fit in BoukenRed's hands, so just in case you wanted to have a ridiculously huge shovel for some reason, you can do that too. Because, you know, he needs more accessories. Of course, for Boukenger fans, this thing is a must-have. But if you're just looking for a Sentai Figuart, well, you might be holding out for the Zyurangers that are coming out next year. But in the meantime, this guy can be had pretty easily, and for the sheer number of accessories he comes with, it takes a long, long time to get bored of him. Now, of course, mine came from HobbyLink Japan, and right now, if you're watching this video when it's new, there's a bunch of reasons to shop there right now. 20% off shipping until the 19th, and a huge store-wide sale until the 20th. Then again, if you're watching this video late, well, better luck next year. As for BoukenRed, he's going to return to a nice reserved spot in my shelves. Because, of course, he is my precious. Ha ha! Double reference! I win!